Welcome back to StitchPhiles with Barudan America. I am your co-host, Brandon.
I'm Sarah.
And I am Bob.
You happy that I did the intros?
I am. I like the intros. I like to keep everything the same. I like to keep it uniform.
All right.
I'm a man. I'm a creature of habit.
Yeah, I
You're not.
don't think I am, but when things aren't in order,
You're
I'm in
haphazard.
disarray.
You're just like sloppy all over the place. Just do this, do that.
Caged chaos. That's me.
I like order in my life.
Yeah.
It's a good balance between the stones. Someone called you the two stones the other day.
The two stones?
And I liked
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah.
Were they saying something
told
bad?
you this?
Yeah. Referred to both of you as the two stones.
Where did this happen?
On the phone.
Oh, shoot.
Was it in vain or?
It was complimentary.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't like the way you said that.
She goes. She had a thing.
It was complimentary.
It's like when people lie.
Yeah.
They go, "Well, what do you think about the deficit?" Well, it's not bad.
Yeah. Or like you start a sentence before you have it all thought out in your head, which I often do.
Oh, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going.
No, I don't either. It's going off the rails. The first what? We're in
1 minute, 26 seconds.
Yeah, a minute and a half.
Anyway, thanks for listening, subscribing, all that good stuff. We have a very special guest. We're honored that he took his time out of his day.
Yeah.
None other than James Timmons from Wilcom.
The one and the only.
The one and only.
He's in my top 25 or 30 people.
That's
Ever,
good.
all
That's
time.
good. All time. Yeah.
Wow.
He's a good dude, man.
He may
I
be
love him to
honored.
death.
James, did you get to hear all that?
Yes, I did, and thank you so much for your kind words.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that, Christmas presents, birthday presents, and money will move you up on that list.
Do you send him stuff at Christmas, James?
Shh, your business.
It's
your
not
business,
business.
dude.
Right.
Your business.
Maybe I can put you on my list. I'll think about that.
He's never been a good boy, I'll tell you that much. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, we really do thank you for your time. And we got a list of questions. But first off, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about how you got into embroidery and digitizing and working for Wilcom. So make that as long or as brief as you'd like.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you today, actually. I'm very, very excited about this, actually. I started in the embroidery business in 1986. And way back when, lots of things were done manual. We were still manually drafting things out, and worked for a company called Ganode and Stigma until 1992. That's when I started my digitizing company about stitches. And we're still working today. It's been this year's 30 years that I've been digitizing, and just feel wonderful about that. And joined Wilcom in 2005, and I've been with them for about 17 years now. And so when I'm not doing that, I'm doing my digitizing, and it's just been a blast. And what I do for Wilcom is I'm a support consultant, and I'm one of the head trainers here at Wilcom. I do the in-house training classes as well as the online training classes, and we do those every week. And you could always go and you could register for those classes if you own Wilcom. You can just go to WilcomAmerica.com, and you click on training, and it has a list of online as well as the in-house training classes that you can actually register for. The great thing about registering for our classes is that if you register for the class, you don't have to physically be there. And I guarantee you, I always send out a recording of the class and the class project that we worked on. And you can view that at your leisure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Super
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so side topic, I'm sure COVID was a big kind of pump the brakes on the classes, I'm sure, right?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're starting up. I think we have a first class 2022 next month. I think we're starting up again next month.
Okay, great.
Something I want to add here too. Wilcom is a partner of ours. So, if you want to buy software from us, it's going to be Wilcom. So,
yep.
We've had a good partnership with them. Oh, I don't know, since 2002, I think. 2003 is when we brought them on board. And, we had a previous software that we were selling then. And just the partnership with Wilcom made sense. They have always promoted Barudan products and others too. But I know that, and knowing, Greg and James and a few other people, they've done a really good job. And I know they need to stay neutral, but they do know that the partnership has been really, really good. And I can't say enough about the support and the help that they give us and our customers. So we really, really appreciate that. And James is a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try not to have customers bother him too much, but every now and then I'll say, well, call James.
I'm the opposite.
I can't help you.
Do you know about it? They just says, call James. Here's his email. So sorry about that.
Hey, by the way, I just got Wilcom's. I want to point this out, and it's no big deal, but I just got Wilcom's training schedule, and when you click on online, it takes you to on-site, and when you click on on-site training, it takes you to online. So,
oh no,
yeah, it's no big deal. But
James, get your people on it.
I make so many mistakes that when I see someone else making a mistake, it makes me feel good about myself.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Gotta appreciate those little
moments of... God forbid I send him an email with incorrect punctuation, which I often do.
Who, me?
Yeah. I mean,
Can't help
he has
it,
a conniption fit. I know.
I have one of them there English degrees.
Yeah.
Not good for anything except proofreading.
Right. He's a very good proofreader.
Yes, I am. I write a good email for the most part. I'm a pretty good speller. Pretty good.
Very good.
All right. Well, we'll dive in. Go ahead.
If I'm going to mention to you also that we just introduced our latest update, the three that's on our website also. So anybody that's using the E4.0, they just completed another update for that actually, and you can go download that from our website.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty important to keep your software up to date. Correct.
Yep. Yeah. Crucial.
Yeah. All right. We'll dive into the questions here. Sarah, you want to take the first one?
Sure. I was wanting to know if you would briefly explain some of the features offered in the different Wilcom products. So people that are looking at buying Wilcom, so they will know what to expect with each of them.
Okay. I'll be happy to. Well, we offer several different options. One being our lettering package, and it gives you the option to bring in DST files and things like that, and add text to them only. You have no other major editing capacity with the lettering other than just to do that. We have the editing version, which includes the lettering as well, where it gives you maximum editing functions, basically, that you could do the text, and you can bring in designs also, and you can do some minor editing with those designs with the lettering and editing. Next, there is the decorating package. And the decorating package is a beginner type digitizing software that we currently sell, and it allows the user to. It comes with CorelDRAW, and it allows the user to digitize using some of the automated features, such as the graphics digitizing tool, and that allows you to go in and just do some basic digitizing. And with the designing package, that's going to be our top of the line model. And with the designing package, it gives you everything. You have the most of the editing, digitizing, and you have more features inside the designing package that allow you to work faster. Like, for instance, in the decorating, if you want to go in and digitize something manually, you can digitize it, but you don't have what we call branching. Branching is the feature that allows you to select multiple objects and combine them into one, converting them to where you're only going to have one starting point and one exit point. So with the decorating, you have to go in and manually do that. With the designing package, it allows you to go in and you can just select all those items and choose branch and tell the software, I want you to start here and exit here, and you're done, basically. So you just have many more options for the designing package that just allows you to move faster.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know that too, because I get kind of hung up on the decorating and designing because, when you look at the feature sheet, there's quite a bit of similarities. It's nice to know, some of the differences, why you would push somebody in one direction versus the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We also have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You're a special guest.
So we also have other products that we're selling now. Also, we have a web API that we're selling, and we also have what we call Wilcom Workspace, and this is a feature that allows you to go in. It's kind of a replacement for the TrueSizer. If you're familiar with the old TrueSizer, now they've added the Wilcom Workspace, and so we don't use the TrueSizer anymore. They kind of play it off a little bit, and so now we have the Wilcom Workspace that you can use. And again, for people who don't digitize and run production, or if they want a program basically that they can bring in designs and change the colors and things like that, the Wilcom Workspace will be good for anyone who needs that kind of capacity.
Now, is Workspace, is it on a key? Is it a keyed system?
It's not actually. It's kind of like, it works kind of like our Hatch product, because the Hatch product doesn't come with a dongle, so to speak. And so, so it's kind of like the way that the TrueSizer used to work. Basically, you can download the TrueSizer, and this is just a replacement for the TrueSizer.
Okay.
So you're not, do you do any of the sales at all? I mean, I know you recommend things to customers, but do you know which level is sold the most? We sell a ton of lettering and editing. Some digitizing. Usually it's decorating, but and I know Wilcom has a ton of old customers through the years that have everything. What do you guys? I guess maybe training. Do you do more training in lettering and editing, or you more training in digitizing, or how does that work?
I think that as far as the numbers, as far as selling the software based, I think that the like you mentioned, the lettering and editing, we sell more of it's more cost efficient for lots of people, to use that actually. So, but we do sell a good number of decorating also. And then we have the customers who they just demand the top quality. They want the best quality product, being the designing package. But I'm thinking that with the lettering and editing, I'm pretty sure that we sell more of those than we do the others actually. Yeah. And a lot of that's going to be based on the price and the price points basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and a lot of new people are getting into it too, and we'll get into this in just a minute about beginning embroiderers, but. You've got to have a lettering and editing if you have an embroidery machine. I don't see how you get by without it. I mean, you can take a design and pop it into the machine and sew it, but you really need something to at least look at it and make sure it's what it's supposed to be. Make sure it's sized correctly and the colors are in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and those two they actually go together. Mm-hmm. The lettering and the editing. And the machine basically. So if you're going to buy a machine, you have to have something, because you don't want to get to the point where you're sending everything out just for minor edits or something like that. So you want to have that in house, and that's much more productive for the company.
Yeah, or farming out 50 different names that you could have done in your lettering software.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen people do that.
Oh, I know.
I mean that farm out their names.
Yeah,
it's not done a lot, but I know some people who've just like, hey, look, I don't want to do this.
You'll do it once, and then you're like, hey, I could have bought Wilcom.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got any tips for lettering, like somebody starting out?
when it comes to lettering, I think that one thing that I see a lot of that new customers are not familiar with, even some existing customers, because they may have not gotten the training in order to do that. But with the lettering, there's a minimum height size for text to be legible for fabric, and some people, they don't go below 5 millimeters, but when you get to 4 millimeters, that's going to be the bare minimum height size for lettering. Generally, if you're going to stitch on fabric, actually, and understanding that and knowing the limitations of it and how small, because it's not like ink. You're working with thread, and so therefore, if you're going to do small lettering and you have a logo design that has lettering on it that's 2 millimeters tall, you're going to have to go in and modify that image. Or you have to modify that text and make it a legible size, or it's going to disappear on the fabric. And knowing what type of underlays to use, because you have basically inside embroidery, you have a gazillion different types of fabrics, but they're mainly two. And one is a stable fabric like leather or suede. And when I look at those, I think about a hardwood floor. I reference a hardwood floor to those, and because of that, less underlay is required for anything based on that particular fabric type, because it's already stiff. The main purpose of the underlay, and the underlay is a foundation stitch that goes down, just like a foundation on a house. It goes in and it stabilizes the fabric so that when the cover stitches go on it, you want a nice, beautiful, clean, professional look. And then you have the unstable fabrics, like your terry cloth material. Any type of thing that's very soft is like carpet. When you walk on carpet, what happens is that you can press that carpet down whenever you walk on it, and it's doing the same thing. The needle is doing the same thing if you have a soft fabric that you're stitching on. And when it comes to lettering, we have to make sure that we have enough underlay stitches, because usually more is required for that unstable fabric for it to stitch, for you to have that nice, clean, professional look. And of course, the size of it also, knowing when and when not to use a tatami stitch to do some text, basically, that's going to stitch on a left chest. Of course, you never want to do that unless the design itself, allows you to do something like that. So it's very important to know what fabric that you're working with, what type of underlay stitches that you need on that particular fabric, and knowing when to use you have a Times Roman font that has a serif that's stitching horizontally all the way to the end on the serif, basically. And then if it's something that's going to go in a jacket bag, if you have a much larger text, now that serif may have to be stitched vertically. And knowing when to do that is critical. And when you're using small lettering, you're almost always going to go with that serif stitching horizontally, from the top to the bottom, basically. And so that's going to be critical to understand when you need to use that and why you need to use it.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, and it's when people get into embroidery, a lot of times it's, well, how do I know I can run this machine? Well, the machine is the easy part, because machines nowadays, you put the design in, you set the colors, and machine pretty much does everything. You just have to, keep thread on it and change the bobbin, fix the thread break occasionally. But to learn, and I say this all the time, you can run an embroidery machine, but it takes a while to learn to become an embroiderer, because there are just so many things you have to know about fabric, pull compensation, underlay, stabilizers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They're looking at this machine with all these knobs on there, and they say, well, I don't know if I can do this or not. Yeah, you can do it, but it's going to take time to become, what I call an embroiderer. They can look at a piece of fabric or look at a garment and say, I know what needle to use. I know how the design's supposed to be built, and what stabilizer to use. And that just takes time, man. It can be intimidating, but there's a lot of good information out there now online. You can call us or call you guys. We're all happy to help out. But yeah, that's you laying some knowledge out there, buddy. We like knowledge.
It's kind of it's kind of like like coming up as a teenager. You want to get your driver's license, and of course you can't just get out there in the street and start driving without a driver's license. There's a process that needs to take place before you can actually. You have to practice how to drive, and once you get to that point to where you're ready to get your driver's license, there's steps that you have to take basically, and just like with embroidery and learning how to do embroidery, it's a process, and the people realize that this is a process. You just can't jump from selling used cars on Monday, buying a digitizing system, and start being a master digitizer by Wednesday. It just doesn't happen like that, actually. There's a process involved, and you literally have to have the patience of Job. It depends on how good you want to be. If you want to be really good, it's a process, and you have to use that process in order to learn what to do, how the machine works, basically. So you can digitize the logo design and make your sewing machine dance.
Yep, we talked about that last week.
We did, or
whenever. 2 weeks ago. Whenever.
James, we have a hard time conceptualizing time on this podcast.
We don't understand time.
Yeah, it's like we're in the Matrix or something.
So it's really, some of you guys are having so much fun, though. So that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, if anything, we're going to have fun.
All right, Sarah, fire away.
Well, on the topic of being new to this industry, what would you suggest is the best Wilcom product for beginners?
If you're beginning, if you're coming from brand spanking new to this, basically, I would think, because we also sell another software also for the home market that's called Hatch, actually. And it's for the home market, basically. Now, that program is, I would say, just bare knuckles. There's nothing automated about it. You have to do all manual digitizing pretty much in that software to get you started. And because you're forced to have to do it manually, you learn more. You learn more about, what the software does, and, making sure that you walk to the machine to see the stitch out. And anything else beyond that, basically, if you're going to do any digitizing, the decorating is going to be a good entry point for you, actually, because again, when you look at the videos, and sometimes I'll get decorating customers in with the designing class, actually, and then they learn that there's some things that the designing can do that they can't do, that it may take them a couple more steps to do it, and they may upgrade to the designing package, actually, but getting started, watching the videos, coming to the classes, and just basically just understanding how the embroidery machine works, and watching those stitch outs. And I think that training, you have to have some, not just any training, you got to have some master training at how to use your software, because it's only going to make you better, and it's going to help you not, make crazy mistakes that people make. Like somebody sending a logo design to somebody, and they just start digitizing it. They don't measure it, and then they send it back to the customer, in which the customer sends them an email back or calls them and says, why is this thing so big? It's going on a visor. Something like that. And it's understanding the basics, stitch types. Understanding that you have a running stitch, you have a satin stitch, and you have a tatami stitch. Mm-hmm. And you have, for the running stitches, you have, of course, if it's going to be from point A to point B, that stitches 15 stitches per centimeter. If you do a double run stitch, did you know that stitches 30 stitches per centimeter? If you have a thin column on a small letter, that's going to stitch approximately 50 stitches per centimeter. If you got something that's 7 or 8 millimeters wide, now you got something that's stitching 70 to 120 stitches per centimeter. And next you have the tatami stitch. Now that is stitching 200 stitches per square centimeter. Which one of these is going to cost you more money in your production when you're running it? It's going to be the Tommy stitch. So it's just understanding fabric type, understanding what type of stitches that you can do is going to help immensely. But I think that having somebody to teach you that in the beginning is always going to be better, because you'll make fewer mistakes because you have an experienced person that's teaching you how to do something, and not telling you got to do it this way, because no, you don't have to do it. You don't have to. You can sit there and not do anything at all day long, But you just want to have the right material. You want to have the right education to start that process, basically. And once you learn how to do that, and you go in the office every day, you're going to get faster. Each and every day you come in, you're going to feel more comfortable. But you got to have the right training. Without the proper training, and when someone is not knowing what they're doing, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, that's a good point too, and I'm sure it can be very frustrating for people who are sitting there trying to learn it without the proper education, proper materials. Yeah, I can't do hardly any digitizing. I had a hatch for a while, and yeah, it was, but it was good for me because I sewed out some samples I was trying to do for my daughter, and eventually got it right. But man, I wanted to pull my hair out, and I have beautiful hair, so that says a lot.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
That would have been a big shame.
Yeah.
Friend pulls beautiful hair out.
Yeah,
It's
but,
not worth it.
Yeah, it's something. You know what? And it's just like any other discipline.
mm-hmm.
Whether you want to be a chef, whether you want to be a welder, like any other discipline, it takes time.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that people don't realize a lot is that you have to understand how your machine works. You have to know how your machine works. And if you don't know how the machine works, you will be in for some long days. And I call those days Nightmare on Embroidery Street.
I've seen that one. It's like Freddy Krueger in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good point there. Yeah, yeah, and using the resources too. Like, and I've talked to plenty of customers that don't even take advantage of the Wilcom support. I think that's crucial. If you have the resources there, why not take advantage of them?
Yeah, exactly. And to say that, and to invest the money in the software, which is not cheap.
Right.
To invest that amount of money into software and not use the resources to learn how to use that software, I think it's just sad. I think it's not. It's just sad, and and you can't make somebody do something. You got to want to do it, but that it means a lot.
Yeah, and I think as a society too, we want instant knowledge and instant gratification.
I was thinking that exact same thing. When I first started in the industry, it was. I see you too. Yeah. It was baby steps. I got a lot of training from a lady that had been in the industry at that time, probably 25 or 30 years, and not everybody's that lucky either. That can have that type of training, but she just let me do a little bit at a time. And once I got good at this one particular thing, she would say, "Well, all right, let's move on to the next one, then the next one, then the next one." Now back then, we had time to do it, and things were different. It was a lot simpler. But now everybody wants to just scan something and snap their fingers and spit out a design. And when we tell people that's not the way it works, they're just like incredulous. They don't believe, well, why is it so complicated? But I think one thing that people forget more than anything is embroidery is still an art form.
Absolutely.
No matter how you slice it, and I know if you're just embroidering 5,000 shirts with a logo, it's still an art form. Because if all of us were to be given that same logo and we digitize it, you're going to get 4 or 5 different renditions of it. And it doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It's just the way that we see it.
Yeah, exactly. And I use the term with my students. Great that you said that just now. I use the term, I said, if you're a family that live in a city that everybody's going to the baseball game that starts at 9:00, and everybody's got to be at the stadium at 9:00. Now, does everybody live in the same neighborhood? No. You can be spread out, throughout the city, and you're going to take different routes to get to the game. The most important thing is that you arrive at the game on time before the game starts, basically. So you're going to end up right there. And with embroidery, as far as digitizing, you want to be able to create a design with less trims in it as possible. You want to keep the needle on the fabric as long as possible. When you're digitizing, and that means using travel stitches and things like that. But you literally, like now, or when I first started with Denold, they sent two of their, they're from Stockstedt, Germany. They sent two of their best German designers in the world here to train 12 of us how to do what I do. And they taught us. It took me 2 years to understand what they were teaching me. 2 years, because I was just taking instruction every day. And there were several days that I left and go home and said, I'm not going back in there because I can't understand what the word is saying.
Is it because you speak German or?
Well, their English was broken a little bit, but they managed to. But you know what? Then the next day I was back on 75 going southbound, going to work. And they taught me, and so that's why I learned how to digitize before I touched the computer. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
And Bobby mentioned also about it's not even complicated. Actually, it's so simple that we make it complicated because the embroidery machine can only do so much, and we have a tendency to overthink, and as we overthink, the machine can only do so much. And so I've always said that embroidery is so simple that it's complicated because people, they don't understand. Why do I need to add an underlay on this particular fabric, and I didn't have to add as much underlay on this other fabric over here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just constantly, and it's just lack of knowledge on how things work. And I remember when I first came in, I had a T-square with me, and my mentor Klaus Schnabel told me, he asked me, he looked at me, he said, what is this? I said, it's a T-square. And he looked at me and said, bring this back. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you draw a straight line? So he takes me to his drafting table, and he folds his paper in half and uses a divider. He punches a hole in it. Then he opens it back up again and put his ruler on it and drew a straight line.
Yeah.
With the two holes. And so it was amazing. And so it's faster to draft, where the paper is free so that you can spin the paper as you're drawing. And so that's how I learned, that the master of being able to draft something, on paper. And when it came to the point to where, the technology kept advancing to the point to where they would come over and tell us, well, you don't have to do this anymore. Now you can just do something more automated. And so that's how we learn. So when I got, I could digitize before I touched the computer, and it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Even now, when I look at a graphic, I can literally hear the sewing machine stitching in the back of my head, and I can literally see that design stitching out on the machine.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Or I'm just special.
It's
I think you're special. In a special way.
Yeah, I've been called special also.
Yeah, you were called special when you were born.
Yeah. So
I want to ask him something.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but if I don't say it now, I will forget about it.
We know that.
Do you think this just hit me? There aren't too many people. Like back then when we were taught, there were some people who had a lot of knowledge. With the way things are now, do you think we're getting away from that a little bit?
I think that here in the United States, yeah, and because in some of the other countries, they still use that. A lot of them, they're still doing drafts. They're still doing drafts, and they do it the old way. But we have gotten away from it because, again, the age that we live in of the instant gratification, they think that they can learn something in a heartbeat and just be able to do that with the, it takes 2 years to be a master at something. It's like what they say about 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours, yeah.
It takes about 2 years for that to happen, actually. And through that process, you're learning, you're learning every day. You're making mistakes and you're learning from your mistakes and you're saying, well, this is not feasible here. I have to do something else. And so, as they're working, and lot of people, they don't know because no one is there to teach them or give them the knowledge, or are skeptical about giving them the knowledge, and but some of those guys, they still do it. They still do it the old way. But with me being an old schooler myself, I love the old way of doing it. But if the technology allows me to do it faster and not lose any quality, I'm gonna take that method and I'm gonna run with it.
Yeah.
You think we'll ever get to a point where you can just scan a logo and push a button and it spits it out?
Now you're talking about artificial intelligence, and if that does happen, then the price of all that software is going to go north. Because you think about it, you just say for instance, if someone calls and they said, "Well, I want to do an automatic conversion of this picture." Okay, well, could you show me what that picture looks like? It's a photograph of a face that they want to do a picture of a person, and and that's not going to work because you can't. Well, put it this way: it's better to have a graphic of a photograph, to be able to scan it in to try to convert it, basically, versus having the original picture. If that makes sense, like you have a photograph and you have a cartoonist that draws a picture of the photograph, in a kind of funny way, basically. And it's better to have the graphic of that photograph than to have the graphic, because if you do a conversion with the photograph, it's going to have a gazillion colors in it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, Sarah, you're an artist. Is that?
I am. I am.
Yeah, Sarah, she dabbles in the art world too.
Yeah.
With
yeah.
She fancies herself an artist.
Yeah, I mean,
and with that,
where you need to simplify it to make that easier to translate.
I'm a doodler.
Yeah,
can a doodler exist with artists?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
You've seen me.
Absolutely.
I'm a pretty good doodler. You got to admit that.
Yeah.
I can draw something when you can tell what it is. I drew the sun. I drew the sun the other day.
Did you know it was the sun?
Right.
I showed it to my wife. She said that looks like the sun, and she said, "Good job, honey. Here's a cookie."
Yeah. Speaking of special,
I'm doodling right now.
Yeah.
See, I drew an arrow.
That is awesome.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, I have diagnosed ADHD. Yours is undiagnosed. James, what is like the most common mistake that you see, and maybe somebody has something digitized, they're not happy with it, and then maybe they send it to you. What's some common things you see that might be corrected easily?
Usually, if it's if I get in something that sometimes things to fix easy. Let's say that they may have gotten a design from a third party, and that third party has their own lettering system, and that lettering system that they have is terrible. The stitch processing is terrible, and they send that to them, and you're looking at it, and you know for a fact that is the Times Small font that Wilcom has it, and being able to just use that font and delete that crap that's already on there, that's just causing problems with the stitching and causing it to run longer than necessary. So just going and adding the text that you can see, like, hey, this looks just like Wilcom text. Mm-hmm. And so doing things like that, or maybe they brought in something inside of Wilcom from a third party, and they've got these jump stitches going all over the place once they imported that design in. And it could be from that software, the way that Wilcom interprets it when it brings it in, and just going in and selecting those items and using the connectors mm-hmm. to cut those jump stitches, basically. Because what happens lots of times when you bring in those DST files, inside embroidery, most machines, they have a maximum stitch length of 12.1 millimeters. Barudan, I think it's 12.7. And so sometimes when you bring in those DST files, those stitch data files, the Wilcom software, the default when you look at the text in the connectors, the default is that you have 7 millimeters for the jump, and it's usually 3 millimeters for the run.
Right.
That's the default. But when you import in a stitch data file, it changes that number 7, or either the 3 to a 12.1, which is the maximum width. And so now when you write that out to a machine, well, you have 2 columns here that are about 5 millimeters apart, but now you got this jump stitch coming from one to the other, because the way that you brought that in, Wilcom is saying that the maximum distance is 12.1. So it's not going to even attempt to do a trim because that stitch length is so wide.
So, yeah.
And so it makes a big difference sometimes when you bring those stitch data files into the software. And that's why I always recommend to our customers that find a Wilcom digitizer, someone that uses Wilcom, and ask them for the EMB file. That's the one that's the one you want. That's the master copy that you can just change from a left chest to a full back with the adjustments you have to make with that. But that's the file that you want. But lots of times, when they bring those third-party files in, they have issues with them. Sometimes because they're poorly digitized, and you wouldn't believe some of the things that I've seen. That wow, you sending that out of your shop looking like that.
Yeah, I had somebody send me a design today that looked horrible, and I was like, that looks like a digitizing issue. Mm-hmm. So I said, call James. I'm just kidding.
But
you and I was working on that design for you the other day, mm-hmm. and I was telling you, because I don't have the EMB file, there's only so much I could do with it, mm-hmm. Because I didn't have the original file. So it just makes it much harder to edit. You have to.
It does.
You have to go like. It's frustrating because I know what I want to do, but I can't do it because
you're hamstrung.
It's in a machine file format.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Makes a big difference, especially if you are wanting to increase that larger. Because normally to increase or decrease the design, you can go usually about maybe 15 or 20% both ways, mm-hmm. without any major distortions and things like that. But now when you got a piece of crap and you're trying to increase this to somewhere midway to a full back size, from like 3 inches to like 8 inches or something like that, yeah. There's no way. I mean, and some people will they will try to edit that design.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And that's one of those things where you have to decide, this needs to be redigitized. Mm-hmm. And you got to redigitize it. And it's great because now I got the EMB file and I can make it any size I want to make it now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Get your EMB files, folks.
Yeah, I always recommend people, whoever they're using for their digitizing, just get that EMB file, because mm-hmm. if you never use it, but if you need it and you need to do some editing, it's just so much simpler.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Great.
All right. Go over the all the different training options that are available. I know you mentioned live classes will be coming back in March.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the online library? I know you guys have quite a plethora.
We have the online training classes, and these classes I'm doing about three or four of these a week, every week. To go to the training for the online classes, again, you go to wilcomamerica.com, choose training, and I've got to talk to them about that drop menu that you discussed earlier. But when you go in, you should be able to go in and register for the training class. You'll be asked for your dongle number because we'll need that.
It's kind of personal,
and make sure it is exactly.
Don't give that out on the We don't want their dongle stolen.
Absolutely not. So with that, and so you can register for the classes, and you don't have to physically be there. When we do our live classes online, you ask questions while I'm working on the design, whatever we're working with. Basically, you ask questions and I answer your questions, live, and that's what we do for the online training classes. And we have a ton of them actually. We have beginner series that we've done. We have beginner digitizer series that we do. I'll do a series that may be 10 classes. I'll do for a certain subject matter. and then we'll just go on to the next one. It'll be level 2, level 3, and things like that. So a ton of tutorials that are out there on our website also, that you, even on YouTube, that you can look at. Just type in what you want to learn about. If it's lettering, just type in Wilcom lettering video. Just type it in, and there should be some videos available that will show you how basically how to use the Wilcom software, and and they're at your fingertips, that you can use those and watch those at your leisure. And then the in-house training classes usually go from 3.5 days to 4 days, depending on what you have. If you have decorating, it's 3.5 days, and if you have the designing, it's 4 days actually. So so when you come to the training, and again, we have limited seats because of the COVID situation, but that way you can come and learn. And those sessions basically too require, I think, about two visits, because if you're brand new, you can't learn all this stuff in 3 days or 4 days. It's impossible. And so, and we request that you call back in 6 months or something like that, and come in again and take the class again. You have different questions this time, because you've actually gone in and you've manually gone in and done things, and you have questions about it now. There's something that you stitched out, or why it looked this way or that way. And because you're much more knowledgeable at that point versus your first week of training, versus 6 months from now, because you know more if you're using that software every day. And so the training is absolutely critical. It's critical about the training.
Yeah, and it's like going from a white belt to a black belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more you
Absolutely.
train, the better you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good analogy.
And as you're using the software, you use different features in the software, and you work faster, because, wow, I can do it this way. I don't have to go in and do it manually. If I need to duplicate it and flip it horizontally, that way I don't have to digitize it twice. Just little things like that just take up a lot of your time over a period of time.
Yeah, that's I do very poor video editing, but yeah, it's like, the more I dabble in the software, you find out the shortcuts. Like, I don't have to do this. I can just do a certain click on the keyboard and it's going to take care of all of it for you. Probably stuff like that applies to the software as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see what we got.
Well, this is a huge can of worms, I feel like, and we don't have that much time left with James, but I feel like it's very important. Could you talk about some of the differences between digitizing for flats versus hats?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Now, and this, when you're digitizing for flats, and lots of times people, they'll say that I saw this awesome logo design that's stitched all over this cap, and not knowing that those things are first stitched on a cap panel before the cap is put together,
Mm-hmm.
which makes a totally different quality. Can't even compare. And so, and just understanding that when you stitch something flat, and that, or you may not be told that, they may want to use that on a cap, like in a couple of weeks, actually. And so if you have an option to, as far as what to do, I'm going to digitize the design for the worst fabric that it's going to stitch on.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do one design, because that means I got to digitize it for a cap.
Yep.
And you have to make a decision, unless you're going to just redo a totally different design for a left chest. But for the rules for a cap, general rules is to start digitize from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock and from center out. Does that happen all the time? Of course not. It's impossible, because based on the layout of the design, it's going to be difficult to do that. But the main thing that you're trying to do is stitch it from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock and stitch it from center out. And things have to be thickened up. The columns need to be thickened up a little bit on the cap, and as less underlay as possible, because of the constant movement on the cap frame.
Right.
You have to have less amount of stitches. Less is more. I'll leave it like that. It's when it comes to doing something for a cap. And you have to make sure also, if someone sends you a design, understanding and knowing what the finished size of the embroidery is. And that's one of the most important things for a digitizer. You have to know, if you don't know what the finished size of the embroidery is, then you're screwed. Yeah. Because if you got a cap, that you got a maximum of 2 inches that you can stitch on it, who's going to digitize at 4 inches and try to shrink it down? This is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And so understanding what the finished size of embroidery is the main thing that people they don't get if they're coming in brand new and stitching flat. And so you just have to know, kind of understand what process is going to work. If it's only going to stitch for a flat, that's great. I'll just digitize it for that. But if there's any inclination that design is going to be stitched on a cap, I'm going to digitize it for a cap. And you can't, inside the Wilcom software, our lettering allows us to go in and we can force the text to stitch from center out with the lettering inside the Wilcom software. But that's just for the lettering. It doesn't work for the actual design itself, basically. And I've gotten questions about, they want this, I got this design, and now they want this stitch on a cap. Can I order this to stitch from center out? No. It's not going to work that way, because the design has to be digitized that way from the beginning.
Right.
And again, you got to have a digitizer that knows what they're doing. And because lots of times the stuff, they mess things up. And the customer ends up spending sometimes 20, 30 minutes to an hour editing that very design that they just paid somebody to digitize for them, which I think is insane.
Yeah.
What about for different fabric types?
When we talk about the different fabric types, as I mentioned earlier, knowing what to do as far as the underlays, like for PK knit fabric versus a silk, something like a silk, something silk basically, and knowing that for that silk fabric that I'm going to stitch this on, I've got to use looser densities, and densities are going to be the space between each stitch in embroidery. And knowing that I'm going to have to go in and loosen the density up on these very, very delicate fabrics, basically, versus going in and now I've got a Ralph Lauren towel. And now I've got to go in, I've got to digitize this thing or put text on this. I've got to thicken I got to thicken the borders up on the text. And now I've got to do like a zigzag, a double zigzag underlay stitch, because now this is going to stitch on a Ralph Lauren towel, just like carpet. And when you don't use enough stitches, it's going to suck it into the fabric, and the stitches, the cover stitches, they're going to disappear.
Yeah.
And so we have to make sure that we have enough underlay for the type of fabric that we're going to use. Basically, if it's going to be PK knit, anything that's soft is considered an unstable fabric, and because of that, we need more foundation stitches there in order to stabilize that fabric. So our cover stitches, so we can have a very professional and clean look once that finishes. Actually, so understanding what type of fabric that is going to be stitched on is very, very important. And if you're going to be stitching on multiple fabrics, again, the thing to do is, well, it's going to stitch on this fabric, this fabric, and this fabric, but this is the worst fabric that's going to stitch on. So I've got to go in now and digitize this for that worst fabric that it's going to stitch on, because as long as that stitches, I know everything else is going to stitch. They may have more stitching on it, but just for a fact, though, for a fact that it's going to stitch on that worst fabric, because you don't want to digitize it for the less fabric and then have it just screw up when it gets to the worst type of fabric. Like, for instance, beanie caps. They have this stitch that they call a knockdown stitch, that you go in and you stitch this knockdown stitch on it. It's like a wide density tatami stitch. It goes in and it flattens that fabric, and so when the cover stitches go on top, basically, it covers wonderfully as far as on a beanie cap, something like that. So knowing what to use, underlays and things for that as well. And when it comes to hooping or your backing also, if you're going to have backing on something, rotate one of those sheets 90 degrees versus having them both the same. Because if you rotate that 90 degrees, it's going to be more like a fishnet, and it's going to stabilize the fabric even more. by doing it that way. So just those little things and stuff, they mean a lot from the finished embroidery if someone doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing Nancy had mentioned too on her podcast, is that rotating your backing gives you more. It's like a lattice. Is that how you say lattice? Lattice. I did it right the first time.
Yeah, lattice.
Go with your first instinct, Brandon. Why are you so stupid? All right. We're getting close to time. Can you, real quick, if somebody wants to upgrade their software, how does that process work? And then we'll let you bounce out of here.
If you're going to upgrade your software, the best thing to do is to call Bob or call us. And if you want to update it, you can get the prices and everything of how that works. But you'll need to call the office or call a dealer, and to find out how much would it be to do an update, or if you have software that's no longer working. If your dongle died or something like that, if you're using E2 or E3 or something like that, because we don't sell those old softwares anymore, you'll need to update that to the latest version that we have.
Right.
And so that's how you can update your software because at some point something's going to run out. Either the dongle's going to run out, or your system is going to crash.
Yeah.
And using that old E2 dongle is not going to run on Windows 10. You can forget about it. So just keeping your software up to date is, it's not because we're trying to force you to do it, because we're trying to keep up with Microsoft.
Oh,
and so whatever they do, we have to keep up with them. So that's why we have to continue updating our programs as well. And eventually, you're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, we're all trying to keep up with Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And then too, keep in mind also, Wilcom, we only support the current version -1, which means that we support E4 and up, and we support E3. But once we get to E5, then we're no longer going to freely support E3.
Right.
And so we're always current -1 is our support protocol.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, look, man, I know you got a tight on time, but sincerely, thank you. This has been a lot of information, and I would like to warmly extend another opportunity for you to come on the podcast.
Let me know.
Yeah,
I'm right there. This is great.
Thank you for your dragon designs that.
Yes.
We sew at our shows. We'll have them at
My pleasure.
the Atlantic City show. That's the next one you could see it at.
Are you guys going to be
awesome.
in Atlantic City? Do you know? Is Wilcom going?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see your name on the list. But
lately we've been doing these virtual shows. So I'm thinking maybe during that week we'll do something like that. If nobody's going to attend,
right?
That we'll do maybe a virtual show online.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And are you accepting new work? Are you welcoming new work? Do you want people to ask you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's what I am to the core. Digitizer.
I do it anyway, whether you like it or not. I say, James, here's his email and phone number.
And you could send that to them. And they could. My website is aboutstitches.com, and they can send a request there also. Please, I'm working all work. This is what I do.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. It's good. It's good to know that you welcome it, because, like I said, I send people there without being like.
If he said no, I'd still send people to him.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? But you know what though? Like that keeps me sharp. Just doing the work, it keeps me sharp. And so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good to practice the craft.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, James, we appreciate your time, and we'll put all your the website information, your email stuff, in all the places it's supposed to go, wherever. I don't know how things work. Yeah.
Just let me know whenever you need me. Just please let me know. Yeah. I'll be there.
I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Seriously, thank you for your time.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, guys. You take care now. God bless.
All
Take care, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
Man, he could talk digitizing for hours.
He's so smart. When people like that talk, I realize how stupid I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I realize how stupid you are too.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to sit in on some of his seminars or something.
Me too.
There's
supposedly a dongle floating around somewhere for me. Everything I've used, I've had to freaking pay for.
I'll get you one of them dongles.
Yeah,
I'll get you one.
Let me hold my breath.
Well, there's a bunch in my office. I'm trying to figure out where all they go.
6 of them.
Yeah, he's like,
I know.
I am 35 feet away from you.
Them. I'm hoarding them. Do you want one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got
dongles for everybody.
You'll get one before I do. I promise you that.
You get a dongle. You get a dongle. You get a dongle.
Look under your chair. Everybody gets a dongle. Yeah.
No, it's
a lot to learn. I don't even have time to do anything I want to do.
But you can. I mean, you can get on. You can do the online classes.
I will. I love it. I'll sit back there and like pull up a design and like tinker around with it, and it's hard for me to see it unless I stitch it out. And I feel like that's a waste.
No, it's not. That's how you learn.
Well, it ain't my machine. Is one of these mine?
You can have one of them.
It's not your personal machine.
Right.
But I mean, I encourage you guys to sew stuff.
I do.
That's how you learn.
I come in on the weekend.
It felt like we sewed on Friday, trying to get a Valentine's Day gift.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Did it work out?
Yeah, ultimately. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't 1,000% happy with it just because I was frustrated. I got frustrated and said, just take it and sew it.
That's really the reason I don't ask you. Because I'm like, I'll just do it myself and figure it out. Because I'm like, I don't want to deal with him.
No, it wasn't that. It was just I couldn't. We finally got it to where it was. Yeah. I mean, it looked fine. Yeah. It was just what he was talking about. It wasn't in an EMB format. And it was very hard to edit. It was an existing design that we were editing. And it's hard to do that.
It turned out cute.
Yeah, that's an important thing.
Did the person like it?
He hasn't gotten it yet.
Oh,
it's Valentine's Day.
That's today.
Oh, that's today, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it'll be 2 days ago.
Oh, we did it again.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, late, everybody.
Yeah.
Belated.
Look under your chair. You got a dongle.
A Valentine dongle.
Your dongle's hanging out. Put it up.
Oh, well.
No? No. Okay.
All right. That's probably where we should end this one, I think.
We should have ended before I started talking.
So,
all right, trade shows coming up March 24th through 26th.
At Atlantic City, as far as we know. Have you looked at the floor plan lately?
Not this week. I did last week.
I haven't either. Didn't look like many people had signed up as far as exhibitors. But come and see. Come and see.
Go ahead and book your room, your plane ticket, and see what happens.
I've heard of people coming. So
I've had people.
I think you'll be well attended.
I think Long Beach. I think it kind of set this stage. I think as long as nothing else like crazy happens, which it doesn't seem like it will.
I wish you wouldn't have said that.
Knock on everything, but yeah, I think it'll be good.
And Atlanta, the Impressions Atlanta show's not happening again. If you missed last week, if you missed whatever week it came out. Charlotte is September 16th through the 17th.
Do you have these memorized? Wow.
Yeah. Look at me. Look at me as I don't look at this paper.
And then
Fort Worth
is the last one.
September 30th to October 2nd. Yeah. I've had quite a few people asking about shows. So, yeah. And I did get blessed out for the Atlanta show being canceled.
Again, if you want admission for free, you can message us. It's usually just the code Barudan, but sometimes maybe it isn't. Yeah. So let us know if you want it.
Do we make the codes?
No.
Dang.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're given to us.
Yeah, maybe we can ask a...
Yeah, I do need to get some people on this code, so yeah. Send me that email with that on there because I don't remember where I put it. All right. Well, thanks again. Like, subscribe, comment. Any other guests you'd like to see? We got some stuff lined up.
Yeah, we got another guest for the next podcast. I'm not going to say in case it doesn't. I wasn't going to mention his name, but we're trying to get a mid-size embroiderer, which he has committed. But I know embroiderers are busy. They're hard to get on here because they don't have time to mess with us amateurs. They need to make money.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Embroidering. But he wants to be on, and he would be a really good person to talk to and ask questions. Somebody who's been in the business for a long time, started out very small, and now has expanded to have a nice...
got quite a few things in the irons in the fire, as they say.
Yeah, he's done really well. I'm proud of him. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah. But anybody else you'd like to see, please drop it in the comments. Leave us any suggestions, things you like and don't like. And new episodes every other Wednesday. Please comment, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Sayonara.
Peace out. Rainbow Trout.